above all of them is actually gameplay. By actually playing games, by being interactive with the information, the retention goes to 70 to 80%. The only thing that's
Wow.
even more retention that comes from it is actually teaching someone else.
Welcome to the Homeschool Connections podcast. I'm your host, Kaitlin Zara, and I'm so glad you're spending some time with me today. New episodes drop every week, so make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell if you're watching on YouTube. All right, mamas, grab your coffee, press play, and let's homeschool together. Zack Edwards is an educator, game designer, and he's the CEO and creator of Historical Conquest. Zack, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
I'm excited to talk to you. I've heard incredible things about historical conquest. And as a former public school teacher and now a homeschool teacher to my sons, I want as many ideas as possible for teaching history and making it engaging and fun and memorable. So I've got to ask you, Zack, why do you think history is often seen as a boring subject or a forgettable subject by students? What is the core problem with this?
So I can actually speak from experience. When I left high school, I hated history because of how it was taught. I had a coach that was a teacher, and he was always gone. So we always had substitutes, and it was so in and out. I think from a perspective of looking at history, most of the time there's just so much to accomplish that everyone always takes it from a bird's eye view. You see everything
Mhm.
as it's happening, but you don't actually get into the stories themselves. So one of the things that we do with Historical Conquest is we want to make sure that all the people that are listening or sorry, are playing our games or reading our books and such, that they're actually getting into the stories of the people and focusing on the people. A lot of people like to say, oh, it's not about names and dates, but it actually is not about dates, but it is about names. We want to actually get know that these are actual people that experienced them. A lot of
Mhm.
times, especially kids these days, they see everything as fiction. Oh, I listen to the stories, I watch TV, I do all these things. Oh, it's history.
Mhm.
Oh, it happened so far back, it doesn't really matter to me. But all of a sudden, you learn about Benjamin Franklin or George Washington, people that you'd never heard of, like Lewis Latimer. He's actually the guy that helped uh, Thomas Edison actually to perfect the light bulb. And he actually came from slavery. I think it was his parents were slaves. He actually started working in the patent office, and then from the patent office, he actually did the patent for uh, Alexander Graham Bell. And from there, then Edison had to grab him in. So when you start talking about the actual stories and the hardships that they've had, students actually get into it. And so when it comes to the game, they're able to play something that's fun, gets them into the actual history, and they retain the information so much more.
Incredible. They say you learn something new every day, and you just taught me something new already. That story, I'm already engaged just listening to you tell me the story that I didn't know. So, Zach, in your view, what's at stake when students don't connect with history in a meaningful way? If a child was to graduate from high school without a base knowledge of important historical context, what would that mean for that child?
No, that's an amazing question. It's actually there's a lot of different things that we could go over due to not enough time. Some of the things is just from a really simple perspective. A lot of these people had experiences. I'll give you one example. When parents tell kids to stop doing something because they've experienced it, the kid's like, "Ah, no, no,
Uh-huh.
whatever, whatever." But when they actually hear about people that actually experienced it, that were like experts, it's like when you hear
Mhm.
an expert says this instead of your parents. Oh, I need to actually listen
Mhm.
to it. But these people actually
Mhm.
experience these things and say, "Oh, I don't want to repeat that," or "I want to learn from that experience." So there's a lot of learning that you can actually lose by not learning history. A lot of the schools these days, they basically kick out history. A lot of
Yeah.
the elementary schools, middle schools, high school, they push out history because it's like, that's not what's important. It's the civics, it's the social
Mhm.
studies. But again, if you don't actually know the actual stories, a lot of the things that you're learning don't really apply. They don't really become encased in you. So one of the things that they actually take away with them by learning history is actually a love for the people that they're learning about and the
Mhm.
desire to do better. I'll give you another example. Some of the great technologies that have been developed in the past, or actually, I should even say today, are because of technology in the past. And a lot of the people
Mhm.
go to Elon Musk, go to Bezos, go to any of the multimillionaires, multi-billionaires, and they
Mhm.
created products because they saw an issue from the past and something that's
Yep.
changed, and they wanted to change it even more. There's so many things that we're losing by not studying history itself and by going off and doing other things and even like social studies. Those are great, but they miss
Mhm.
that why it's important. And that's what history is. It's the why it's important.
Incredible. I know as you're speaking, some of the names that you just mentioned, these modern day billionaires, if you mention those names to children in the classroom or to some homeschooled kids, their ears would perk up because it would be interesting and exciting to them. But like you said, there are these historical figures that were doing exactly what they are, trying to reinvent things, trying to perfect things that would really engage students today too. And I love the way that you made that comparison. Hey, friends! If you're looking for a little extra help in your Catholic homeschooling, check out Homeschool Connections. They've got live and recorded online classes for just about every subject, taught by instructors who really know their stuff and really love their faith. From a curious elementary school child to a teen getting ready for college, and every age in between, they've got you covered. Head on over to homeschoolconnections.com to learn more.
Thank you. Actually, I've got one more story if you're interested in that.
I'm totally interested. Tell me.
Okay, so there's a man named Mansa Musa, richest man in the world in history. Most likely, he was the richest man ever to live. Even in today's standards, he'd be uh, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, Bill Gates, all combined. He was
Wow.
he was the emperor of the Mali Empire. And so one of the things that they had that no one else had, or at least not as much, is they had gold. They mined gold, they
Mhm.
accumulated it, and because he was the emperor, he owned basically all of it. So he goes on a journey to Mecca, and he brings all
Mhm.
this gold with him. And his idea was he wanted to spread out this gold to all the people on the way there. So he goes to Egypt, and he gives out all his gold. He has camels just covered with gold and he just passes it out to the people. And then he goes on his journey, and then he comes back and he finds out something very important. He finds out that because he infused all this money into Egypt, it completely destroyed their market. It wasn't kind. They actually say that he was so smart that he tanked that market because his market was actually competing with that market. And so he was the richest man in the world who basically showed his wealth and how much he could control the environment of all of Africa by doing certain things. And it influenced every single market in from the southern portion of Africa into the Middle East because of what he had done. So it's interesting because like we like infusing money into the system to give out money with
Mhm.
the government. But if you take that example, it creates what? It creates superinflation, which makes the bread and the normal necessities be like the price would skyrocket because you everyone
Yes.
has all this gold, then they don't need to pay a 1 gold piece for it.
Yep.
They need to spend 100 gold pieces. So yeah, sorry. That just reminded me to talk
Incredible
about.
story. No, I'm riveted by this story. And Zach, although we just met, I can tell that you are a storyteller. You love to tell a story. And I want to talk a little bit about that. Do you see storytelling and gameplay as natural allies to one another? Do they help students remember historical events and figures?
Yes. So actually, when people start getting into, let's just say, we'll take historical conquest for instance. When kids start getting into it, they get this emotional attachment to the information.
Hmm.
More than that, when they start reading the cards, so I grab a card, you might be able to see it. There we go. So this
Yep.
is actually Lee Harvey Oswald, the person that assassinated JFK.
Hmm.
So this card, you can actually read the history right here. It's a small amount, very unintimidating. And then you have the bit right
Hmm.
here that's about the abilities of the game, but this is based off the history. So the reason why I mention this is because this is the history of the person. So they can get a little bit of information. The hope is though, as they're playing the game, they're like, okay, I'm interested about this one person. I want to know a little bit more. And so they automatically
Hmm.
go into more of the story. So as you're playing a game, you're learning the stories of it. Now, one other part when it comes to to gameplay and storytelling is gameplay is basically you're creating your own story. You're actually creating whether it's a world that you are creating in some sort of space adventure, or if you're
Mhm.
playing a game of historical conquest. In historical conquest, everyone starts off with one land, and you defend it with different people from history. But then you
Mhm.
use explorers to find new lands, and you're growing your civilization as you go and defending that land with people in your land. So you're creating this storyline of how this goes together. Now, for those parents that might be questioning, does this affect the kids if they're playing with someone in the Americas in Asia? It doesn't. So
Mhm.
the kids actually understand that there's a separation of actual fact and fiction. It's never been an issue. We've tested this out.
Mhm.
But what they do is they create a story in their head of how this all came together, and they could actually have a second assignment, which is or have an assignment where they go write down their story. What happened in this gameplay? And they get to write this really cool story about all these different people, how they influenced the environment that we're at, those type of things. So we've had homeschooling families do all different types of things with historical conquest, with the game itself. Uh, yeah.
Very cool. So cool. I love what you said before, Zach. You held up the card and you said that there was just a blurb, a few sentences about whoever the figure was, and that your hope was that it would lead the student to find out more about that person. And I am such a big believer in what you just said because I think that student led and interest led learning is the gateway to retention of information. When you have a student who's personally motivated to learn something, and they go seek out that information on their own, they are so much more likely to retain that information and to do something with it, to write about it, to read about it. And I think that that's an incredible way to inspire and to spark interest for students.
So much, so much. And you know what's interesting is kids that don't feel intimidated by like a few lines,
Yep.
they're willing to do it. If you give them this large amount, even a page, like, oh, it's just too much. I'm not gonna read the whole thing. Little blurb, they're excited. Big blurb,
Yes.
they get a little distracted or discouraged and going further.
Absolutely, because then it becomes a textbook again. Then it becomes learning just for the purpose of perhaps writing or a test, and it's not learning for the sake of learning.
Mhm. Well, and I've actually got one more. So when it comes to just a little bit of history or a little bit of education mixed into games, all of our games are
Mhm.
basically like 70% fun, 30% educational. And I'll give an example. This game right here is called Totally Medieval. It's our math game.
Mhm.
So with Totally Medieval, it's you go on. It's basically an adventurous chess game. And then in
Mhm.
order to battle, to instead of rolling a pair of dice, you pull basically we call them math dice, but they're a flashcard that gives an equation, and the kids try to answer it because if they want to add more points to their attack or defense, they want to finish that one equation. But it's so small, it's not intimidating. It's not like a math sheet where they have all these different numbers or all these different equations. And that's what really gets them into it. It's like, oh, actually, I want to do this because I have an incentive. And again, because like historical conquest, like Toy Medieval, or any game that they
Mhm.
play, they get an emotional attachment with it. So if there's education as part of it, they actually grow their retention dramatically.
Incredible. I wanna hear more about that. I wanna hear more about the science behind your games and how you built them for, like you said, that connection, that almost emotional attachment or
Mhm.
connection that the student might make with the content that they're learning and how it creates engagement and retention. I wanna hear more about that.
Okay. So let me see. One thing I'll talk about is there's something called the learning pyramid. Now, this learning pyramid basically tells where retention is accumulated the most. At the bottom, it actually shows, or sorry, well, whatever side I think it was actually, yeah, at the bottom they have reading and lectures. It has about a
Mhm.
10% retention rate. It's very small, the retention rate. Uh, Above that, it's like activities and regular things, regular learning. Above all of them is actually gameplay. By actually playing games, by being interactive with the information, the retention goes to 70 to 80%. The only thing that's
Wow.
even more retention that comes from it is actually teaching someone else. So if a student takes what they learn and then they teach someone else about it, they'll have about a
Mhm.
90% retention rate. And the reason is because the brain
Incredible.
says, I need to remember this. And it says, I need to remember this because I want to be reciting it. Now, when it's teaching someone else, that could be lost fairly soon right afterwards. But with gameplay, you're playing it over and over and over again because you're having fun with it. You have this emotional attachment. The reason why emotional attachment is so important is if kids are actually enjoying it, they're actually retaining it. The brain says, "Oh, I'm actually having fun with this. I want to remember this."
Mhm.
Also, even if they're getting discouraged, they don't get discouraged by that. There's an emotional attachment that comes with the discouragement as well, and they will be in gameplay because they're going to lose a game, and that's okay. That's actually a good thing with them because anytime they feel the discouragement, they also be able to remember some of the information that they retained at that time. If an emotion is attached to it, they'll actually retain more effectively. And then there's one other thing. Um, there's different parts of the brain that actually light up when people do certain things. Like certain
Mhm.
parts of the brain for um, are set for certain tasks. And one of the great things is retention is part of action. There's a connection between them. So by being active, by not just listening and doing things passive things will go right through your one in one ear, go out
Mhm.
the other. But actually being into it, getting activities, doing those type of things, you're going to retain it.
So, Zach, I wanted to mention to you that I have a third grade son and that there have been times that I have downloaded educational apps for
Okay.
him because, of course, he's homeschooled and he hears a lot of me talking and I want to mix it up for him, right? But I have noticed that even these apps that I'm investing in by paying for,
Uh-huh.
he is not retaining information. And I'll give you an example. We were having trouble memorizing times tables
Uh-huh.
and so I paid $3.99 a month to have this app and we tried it out. It had this cute little furry character who was going to lead you through, say, the times tables, and it was colorful and there was music in the background, but it was really just rote memorization. So 3 times 0, 3 times 1, 3 times 2, and you just kept clicking the answer until mastery. Well, my son never memorized them using this app. Do you believe that your gaming is set apart because of the fact that, like you said, there's that educational but emotional component, that there's just these tidbits of information, but then they're connected to other pieces of information and other things that engage students? How is your game different?
So one of the big things when it comes to games, and this is where the emotional attachment comes up a lot. I don't know the game that you're talking about yet, but one thing I'd say I would ask is, does that have much competition or goal setting, actually making points and things like that? Is it actually gamified or is it just a repetitive motion that they call a game? That's a lot of
Mhm.
issues with what we call games for elementary school.
Yep.
Yeah, so
Certainly, like you said, it was definitely that second one. It was not anything of value.
yeah, so kids actually want to be competitive. It is part of our nature. There's a competition that's in there. Even cooperative is good. But the kids wanna be able to they wanna hit a goal. They wanna
Mhm.
obtain something, do something with that. So if it's just a repetitive motion, it's not a game. Though people like to call it a game, it's not gamified.
Mhm.
Gamification, and this could be used in any subject, any assignment, you can actually gamify a subject. And that's basically the what you need to do is you need to find something that the kids really want. It could be a challenge and doing receiving something that they really want in the end. That is what they want to do. They want to obtain that, and so they'll actually work towards obtaining that. And that's what every game is. There has to be like a little bit of a competition, whether it's with another person or it's with themselves. They want to be able to compete so that they can feel like they're getting something out of it, and that's part of the emotional connection that's there. You're going to retain things because you have this, oh, I need to remember this. I want to remember this. And I have this goal in mind, this thing that I'm going to get. So gamification is very simple. It's basically a challenge to receive something. And it could be competitive, it can be cooperative, and it could be solitary. But it has to have that ending ray of light, that thing that they want
Mhm.
to get for actually accomplishing that goal. Again, if it's just repetitive motion, it's just repetitive motion, which is what most of us do in like public schools where I came from.
Yes.
And that's why I didn't like education the way it was done. And which is why we create games to make it more exciting and engaging with the students.
Definitely. Zach, tell me more about that. I want to hear about your background and what actually inspired you to gamify teaching history.
So, funny enough, everyone probably knows about Pokemon. There's
Yep.
games like Yu-Gi-Oh! I actually played a game called Magic the Gathering. And Magic the Gathering was a darker Pokemon. My mom didn't like it. I was 16 years old and I wanted to
Mhm.
drive a car. But in order to get my license, I had to get my Eagle Scout. And my mom, again, did not like the game that I was playing. So she said, "Hey, I will compromise with you. How about you get rid of your game? I will let you have your license before you get your Eagle Scout." Now, interesting enough, I knew where my priorities were because I was 16. I wanted to date, and I did not want my mom chauffeuring us where we were going to go on our date. So I got rid of the cards. I actually like spent hundreds of dollars on them, and
Mhm.
in the end, I sold them for like $40. But my priority was to start driving. So I got my license, and hey, look at that! I also got my Eagle Scout. It wasn't if you got the
Mhm.
Eagle Scout to drive. I wanted to drive, and so my mom had done this. Now, when I left high school, I hated history because, again, how it was taught. So when I
Mhm.
went into college, I had an English professor that did something amazing for me. She said, create a project. And this is just one essay. It was supposed to be a 12 font, one page, double space. It was supposed to be a product that would change the world for me and be able to be done from a dorm setting. Now, that assignment I probably got an A on, I don't know, but what it did was, uh, it started me down a road of every single class I went to, I had this goal in mind. You remember the gamification? I had
Mhm.
this goal in mind. I wanted to get this product created, and the original idea was actually scrapped because it was like a baseball card of historical people, and nobody really cared.
Mhm.
But I went to a marketing class. I went to all my different business classes. I went to construction classes because I was planning to go into construction. And all of a sudden, it every class I went to made sense. Every class I went from me getting B's and C's and maybe some A's
Mhm.
to getting straight A's
Yep.
because I had this project in mind. I had this thing in mind that I want, this goal, and I was able to obtain it. But, okay, so then comes the point of I spend, what, 10 grand as a starving student to print my
Mhm.
first set of copies of this. And it was great. I had these copies. I sent them to distributors. I started selling them to retailers.
Mhm.
And then I found out 4 months after we started selling them that the History Channel actually sent out an announcement saying that they will be releasing in the next few months a history game. And I said, "Wait a
Wow.
second." And the distributor said, "Well, we love your idea. It's great, but this is a multi-million dollar company with money to market,
Mhm.
and you're a starving student. So which one do you think we're going to choose?" And so my wife at the time said, "Put away the game and go get a real job." And that's
Mhm.
what I did for 10 years. I left the game to side. Then I was teaching some kids about entrepreneurship, and they wanted to see what I produced. So I brought it out, they
Mhm.
played the game, they won more, and I got partners, I got funding, and that was actually 12 years ago, and we've been going strong ever since.
Incredible. The rest is history, no pun
Exactly,
intended. I
yes.
think that's incredible. That's a fantastic, fantastic story. So, Zach, for the homeschool parents who are listening to this, I know as one myself, everything you're saying is just incredible. And I so wholeheartedly believe in helping my kids to feel like their learning is goal oriented and they are intrinsically motivated. And I want, like we've said, to have that retention of these facts and all of the wonderful things that I'm teaching them, what advice would you give to parents who want to do the same in their homeschool education for their children?
Mhm. So, in my time selling games, there's families that love games. I mean, there are,
Mhm.
extremely fun games that they love games. There are ones that, they're okay, and they'll play it every once in a while, and then there's those that do not like playing games. But here's the thing. Every single student, if you gamify their educational experience, you make it
Mhm.
fun, you make a goal in something that they really care about, that whether they're going to earn something or whether they're going to accomplish something. That's what they want. and they will find it will get them curious into things that will help them get there. And so
Mhm.
by doing that, it gets people into it gets students to retain the information and just have fun with education, which a lot of times education is not fun. Sorry to say, it's not usually fun, but we can
Yeah.
make it fun for them. Just find out what your
Mhm.
kids really want, what they want to accomplish. Even if they're all into sports and hate games, the kids can completely hate games, but gamifying the experience is what actually get them to retain the information. And you could compare it to, okay, we're not comparing it to a board game or a card game. Sports, we're going to, a football player. You want to get to that goal. I want to get you to that goal. How do we get you to that goal? And what do we need to do in between to get you there? I was just watching my son play football last night, and they were getting
Yep.
it closer and closer and closer to the goal, and they just could not make it. And finally, they made it, but it was just like
Mhm.
that those incremental things, but they're getting closer and closer, and the more they're able to enjoy their adventure, their experience, the more that they'll actually retain the information that they're getting.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as homeschoolers, we're really blessed because we kind of get to make the rules,
Mhm.
right? And teach however we see fit for our individual child. And what do you think it is about public school or traditional brick and mortar schools? What are they doing wrong in their delivery of history? I want to know this personally because I don't want to replicate school at home. I want to give my children this really unique experience.
Yeah, so I didn't tell you this before, but my wife's actually a, elementary school, counselor. And so she's helping
Mhm.
all these kids trying to figure out how to get to this place. So one of the things that my wife keeps telling me is that these kids are not engaged with the information. And
Mhm.
she's always defending the teachers, which she should. The teachers have a really hard
Absolutely.
time. There's 30 kids in a class where they're supposed to teach
Yep.
one thing, and there's every single student has all different learning styles. So a lot of times,
Mhm.
that was actually one of the things that I wanted to talk about earlier, and I had forgotten what it was, is that we have to learn what the learning styles are for our kids.
Mm.
And in a classroom of 30 kids, you can't do that. There's no way you could
Mhm.
actually focus on personalizing it for all 30 kids. So one of the things that the public schools has, not that they're doing exactly wrong, is that they cannot accomplish it, is
Yes.
personalizing the information for every single student. So as you know, as you probably know, there are 7 different learning styles. There's interpersonal, extrapersonal,
Mhm.
there's or interpersonal. There's kinesthetics, which is more of touch,
Yeah.
visual, audio, and such. And so what the kids need is they need to realize what that is. They need to realize
Mhm.
the the way to learn that's best for them and learn that way. So a parent that's homeschooling has a lot easier job than a
Mhm.
public school teacher with like 30 kids because they can see exactly how their kids are doing. Now, one of the things that we don't want to do is we don't want to go too far into what we think is the best way. We want to give the kids like an experience of like all 7 learning styles and let them
Mhm.
figure out which one's the best because the retention, if it's actually done with their learning style, skyrockets the information
Yep.
that will be retained. And I'll give you an example. So, if you have a child that has, let's just give an example of a random child. Child comes in and you start teaching them, and you give them something that an assignment that's intrapersonal, uh,
Mhm.
kinesthetic, so touching, visual, audio, and such. You're going to see where they gravitate to, and they'll start be
Yep.
pulled to a certain one of these styles. Now, at the same time, you don't want to do just one. You don't want to focus on one because there's other things that they can get from these other ones. But giving a focus on that one might actually help them to get more uh, ingrained into the information, having fun with the information, and being able to
Mhm.
retain it. So again, all 7 learning styles. There are there are multiple. Most students are like a little bit of each of them, and if you let them go on their own journey to some extent, normally a student actually learns their learning style about middle school, upper middle school, and the beginning of high school. You'll actually get in the elementary school level. And if you could do that,
Mhm.
all the learning that they did before, a lot of it's going to be lost if they don't know what their style is. If they're able to
Mm.
do it in their style, they will actually be able to retain it so much faster, and the educational experience will um, will be so much more for them. Whether it's gamifying or not, you're actually going to how they respond, and that's also very
Mhm.
important as well.
Incredible. Your educational philosophy so closely aligns with mine. And I was a former public school teacher for 10 years, obviously now turned homeschool mom. And I just couldn't agree with what you said more that the public school is doing their best job. As a teacher, I went in every day just giving my all to making my students' education as valuable as I could. But there were these limitations based
Mhm.
on class size and based on the curriculum that I was handed that I had
Yep.
to teach. And so many times when I had students that learned differently or were on different levels, the most support I was given was, say, the math curriculum would give extra worksheets. Some were enrichment and some were for extra practice. So it was never allowing the student to learn in a unique or different way based on their learning style. It was only ever giving them extra practice or a harder question.
Uh-huh.
So I love what you said about being able to adapt to the unique child's needs. And I think it's just so incredible that the games that you are developing kind of allow for all of this different brain activity. It allows for students to be intrigued and excited about learning in a new way and really does encompass a lot of those things that you spoke about. Like it is auditory, it's visual. There's so many different components to what you are creating.
And so actually, one thing I just briefly want to explain, there's another thing. So the boxes that are behind me, those are called adventure boxes. And a lot of
Hmm.
times you get this monthly box that comes in your door and it has this one style in them. A lot of them have just like one, maybe two styles in them. We actually
Hmm.
make it so that we have all 7 learning styles in ours. And they're like, wait a second, audio, visual, how do you do that? And it's not the game, though part of the game's in the box for the monthly curriculum. But it's actually we have an online version or online portion,
Hmm.
and we have music that actually tells the story of each
Yep.
portion. So, like the Aztecs, we have a song that's all about the Aztecs. We have videos of the actual people with animation to get kids into it.
Mhm.
We have all these different things because, again, a lot of times it's hard to actually give the students all 7 learning styles. It's just
Yes.
there's just so many different things you could do with it, and a lot of times the parents don't have the resources or even
Mhm.
the energy to do it because, I mean, we're parents,
Mhm.
so we're gonna
Yes.
I have 6 kids, and so
Oh, that's
yeah,
wonderful.
a full house, and they keep me busy, so trying to homeschool and run business, and, we have some that are actually in the public school just because of certain things,
Mhm.
but, um and so, yeah, we need to have something for all the learning styles, but one other thing that I wanted to mention is you were mentioning all the games that we're producing that have all this
Yes.
brain science behind it. That's actually one of the new ventures that we just released this year. It's called Zogos Gaming. So
Mhm.
Zogos is a video game. Now, some parents don't like video games. Some are accepting of video games. What we do is we actually give the kids alternatives to a system that's out there called Roblox. And there's a lot of
Mhm.
issues that are with Roblox, and I can't mention them.
There's a lot
Actually,
of controversy, yeah.
yes, there's a lot of lawsuits right now. Um, and so one thing that we do is our games are just like our video games are just for like 6
Mhm.
to 19 years old. And with that, you're only playing with other kids. We have like a
Mhm.
99% um, uh, we'll guarantee that it's just kids that they're playing with. We don't know that it's
Mhm.
adults. But here's the great thing about it is even if an adult goes in there, they can't chat with anyone because there's no in-game chats. You can only
Very
chat with,
important.
yeah, in the platform itself. And the parents get an account free when they
Mhm.
subscribe to the kids account. Now what's essential in that is another thing that I wanted to say is when when kids are young, they idolize their parents. And a lot of times as
Mhm.
they grow up, the parents they get busy. They don't have as
Yep.
much time. They don't go throw the football around or play the games with the kids or interact with the kids because they're
Mhm.
older. They can take care of themselves. Well, the problem is when we do that, they lose that ideology for us. They lose that
Mhm.
desire to be friends with us or close to us. And we don't even have to be
Yep.
friends to our kids in the sense of, I want to be your friend. But there's
Mhm.
this bond that's created when we spend time with them. And so one thing that we are trying to do is actually get kids to actually interact with their parents. So all of our games can be played with parents. All of our
Great.
video games can be played with the parents on their free parent account because we
Mhm.
want to bring them together. Because this also, not just educationally, but it creates this bond that will be there when a parent says, hey, you need to know about this because of my experience or because of other people's experience, but it's coming from the parent's mouth. the kids are more likely to agree, understand, and accept that information in opposed to, "Oh, my friends say differently," or "My public
Mhm.
school teacher says differently,"
Yep.
because they've lost that bond. They have lost that, "I'm the expert," even though there's others experts there, and so they'll go to any expert that echoes their thoughts. And the parents, they're not there to echo the kid's thoughts. We're there to correct, discipline, and to
Mhm.
give them insight into what is true. And they totally lose that, which is why we have the free, um, that free account for the parents. And then one last thing I wanted to say is as a parent, I don't want my kids spending all their allowance in games, especially
Mhm.
digital junk. Basically, it's never going to come
Mhm.
out of it. So what we do is we want kids, again, gamifying everything. We want kids to desire to do good things, play good games, go out and doing things that are volunteering. So in our system, the kids don't buy coins. There's no monetization. You pay the subscription or even a
Yep.
lifetime membership that we only have this year. You buy that,
Mhm.
and then all of a sudden, every everything else is for free inside. The kids don't
Mhm.
just buy the coins, they earn the coins. Or so they don't buy them at all. They earn the coins through
Mhm.
gameplay, doing well in school, and also getting off the screen. So this is a partnership with UMKC, so with the University of Missouri. We actually have a
Mhm.
program that we're just about to release where kids can actually volunteer. A nonprofit signs up with a volunteer program in their area. The kids sign up for it. They go in, clock out, come back to the
Mhm.
screens, and they have coins on the screens.
Wow.
And those coins they can use in the system, but they can also convert them to scholarships for trade schools and universities. And we're talking large scholarships over the years that they're accumulating because they'll accumulate them through elementary school all the way up to high school. So by the time they graduate, they won't have to get the huge student loans. That's our goal.
Mhm.
And so as we get more kids into this and more kids and we'll get more sponsors. We have a 501(c)(3) that takes care of all the scholarships, where we have donors and such. And that's a whole another topic because I won't go too much in that. But we are trying to make it so that the kids aren't laden with debt if they want to go to university. And if they don't want to go to university, great, go to trade school. If they don't want to go to trade
Mhm.
school, go to get a certificate, a career
Mhm.
certificate. This is what's going to be able to drive you to doing things that are really important for the future, whether you want to go through all the things like college, or if you just want to go straight into a career, we want to help on that journey. So we do a lot of things, but we want to gamify everything so that kids actually want to obtain their goals. They want to have a great time on their educational adventure.
Zach, this is such a powerful mission. You are so clearly passionate about what you do. And after all of these years working in this sphere of gamifying education, it is so obvious that you are still so excited about what you do. And I can tell that your heart is in the right place, that you are doing this to really help students and families. And I have to say, after this conversation, you have totally sold me on the idea of finding the right games for my kids.
Mhm.
Perhaps I've tried other apps before, but they were really the junk food of gamifying education. And you have given me so much insight today about how I can use gamifying education to really help my sons. This has been an incredible
Awesome.
conversation.
That's great. I love
Thank
that.
you so much. Thank you very much. I'm really excited about everything that you shared. For our listeners, if you are excited about it too, which I'm sure you are, we're going to have everything linked in the show notes so you can find Historical Conquest and all the amazing things that Zach's working on. And we'll have the links to everything. Zach, this has been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
And thank you so much for having me. And anything I could do, please email me anytime. One thing that we do actually do is we want to make sure that we are very connected with our players, our customers, and everything.
Mm-hmm.
We're not like a meta that you can never get a hold of anybody. We
Yep.
actually answer our emails and ask these questions. And if you can't figure out a game, we actually have our our rule sheet. We have YouTube, and then we also have our guarantee that we will jump on a call with you and walk you through the
That's
steps
fabulous.
because we want you to enjoy it. And if you enjoy it, you're probably going to tell someone else. But if you put it up on the shelf, you just lost a whole bunch of money. We don't want you to lose money. We want you to actually
Yep.
get stuff from this. And so that's why we are always here to help wherever we can.
Wow. In this day and age, it's pretty special to have that kind of customer support and that investment in the community that you have built. That is wonderful. We'll have your email and everything else linked in the show notes. This has been so fun. Thanks again, Zach.
Thank you so much.
This isn't the end of the conversation. I want to hear from you. Come say hi on Instagram, connect with me on Facebook, or leave a comment below. I want to know what today's conversation sparked in you. I read and respond to every message. Until next time, remember, you got this.